I don't want to say that this deck sucks, but it doesn't seem very good.
Magic Key is not a good deck.
I think Magic Key is going to have a terrible issue with being an only going first deck as well. I think it's probably why they're going to suck.
Magikarps must be one of the most misunderstood decks in the game, and it hasn't even been out that long. This deck's able to consistently pump out 3 interruptions with a mediocre hand, and there are some hands where it can do even more than that. That's an extraordinary claim. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. But before we get to that evidence, we gotta actually talk about what we are working to get to here. The main interruptions of this deck find their home in the extra deck, and they are Magic-y Fiend Transferal Mine and Void Ogre Dragon. You're probably aware of Void Ogre Dragon. It's pretty popular as it's very strong and used in a variety of decks. It's a level 8 synchro that requires a Dark Tuner specifically, and as long as you have no cards in your hand, you can negate a spell or trap once per turn. Backrow negation is so powerful in this format as almost every deck relies on it in some way to interrupt plays, break boards, or even make their own plays. Transferal Mine is the Magic-y archetype's inherent interruption though. If the opponent summons a monster that has the same attribute as any monster in your grave, you can destroy that monster once per turn. That counts both special summons and normal summons too, as long as you have the right attributes in your grave. And this deck is actually really good at getting a bunch of different attributes into your graveyard. That interruption is pretty solid for an archetypal synchro, but it actually has more gravy on top. That if it was synchro summoned using monsters with different attributes as material, you can set a Magic Key spell or trap directly from your deck. The back row we are going to be setting from the deck with this effect are Magic Key Unlocking and Magic Key Battle. Magic Key Unlocking is a counter trap that will negate a spell or trap, and then for the rest of the turn, any monsters on your opponent's field will be the attribute of your choice, even monsters that are summoned after this card, meaning that no matter what attribute they are, the Transferal Mine will be able to destroy them on summon. Unlocking is going to be the main thing we set from the deck with Transferal Mine, and just by synchro summoning twice, we are going to have a Void Ogre on the field to negate a back row every turn, Transferal Mine to destroy a monster each turn, and Unlocking to negate a back row and support the Transferal Mine. Having 3 interruptions is really strong in Duel Links, but the fact that this is a versatile interruption, that being it can hit both monsters and back row, makes it really difficult to play through this. And the fact that this is double back row negation makes it really difficult for the opponent to bait out our negates. This is the field we are going to be consistently setting up on our first turn pretty much every time, but of course depending on your hand or depending on the matchup, you might prefer to summon a rank 4 like Abyss Dweller, Steelswarm Roach, or Giant Hand instead of Void Ogre. The fact that this deck can diversify its end board like that is really insane. Regardless, you're always going to be getting the Transferal Mine and the Unlocking, a nice and easy 2 interruptions that just require 1 synchro summon, and the rest is just gravy on top. If you happen to already open up with the Unlocking though, the Transferal Mine could instead set the Magic Key Battle, which is a quick play spell that responds to the opponent's effects by shuffling a normal monster, Magic Key monster, or Magic Key Maftia from your grave into the deck in order to protect your Magic Key from that card effect and the effects of other cards with the same name. So this could be a nice and easy way to not have to deal with the opponent's effects that would stop your combos or break your board. But it also lets us know that we might be playing normal monsters in this deck, and there's also a card in this deck called Magic Key Maftia. You might remember the Transferal Mine can't actually pop the opponent's monsters unless that monster has the same attribute as any of the monsters in your graveyard, and there are a lot of effects in this deck that actually get bonuses if you have a normal monster. Because of this, we can actually use normal monsters to both give us benefits of those effects and also help us to gain the attribute benefits that Transferal Mine and the other Magic Key boss monsters can get. Let's just put a stop to talking about the boss monsters for a second though, and let's talk about the cards that are gonna help us get them out the most. The cards that we want to see every time during our combos are Magic Key Mech Musket, Baitos Buster, Magnificent Magic Key Maftiel, Magic Key World, and some way to help facilitate a ritual summon. Hold on though bro, I ain't saying these goofy ass names again. From now on, this guy is Buster, this guy is Magnificent, the World is... If all of these resolve their effects, then you are going to get your board set. Let's talk about them all real quick. Buster, being a ritual monster, means we are going to have some way to ritual summon it, and on summon it will search any card in the archetype, so you could potentially search for a battle to help protect your plays. So realistically, you're more likely to either search for a Magnificent or a World. Magnificent, as long as you control a Magic Key monster, can activate in the hand to give you an additional normal summon of a Magic Key monster including itself, and if it's summoned, it can revive a level 4 or lower monster or Magic Key monster from your grave. Hold on though, both Buster and Magnificent are tuners. Did you notice that? Yeah, so these guys can one way or another give you another card, and they themselves as tuners can help you get your synchros out. Buster being a dark tuner means you can use it for Void Ogre, and Magnificent can't be used for anything other than magic keys, so it can be used to summon Transferal Mine. Something is missing though. We know what tuners we are going to use, but we need to be able to search for them. We also need to access the non-tuners, and we have to find a way to ritual summon the Buster in the first place. We can solve multiple of these issues at the same time using the different search cards and ritual related cards in the deck. Magic Key World is a field spell that searches any Magic Key card, and it's a Magic Key card itself too, so you could activate it and use it to search for Buster, and then when you summon the Buster could search for the Magnificent. But the other way around, you could also summon the Buster, which on summon will search for the World, which on activation will search for the Magnificent. But then why would we use World as a middleman in that case? Well, it also has another effect that once per turn we can add a Magic Key Maftia from our deck to our hand, then shuffle a card from our hand to the deck. Magic Key Maftia is our first ritual spell, except it isn't actually a ritual spell at all. If you're new to Duel Links, a ritual spell has to be more than just a spell that does a ritual summon. It also has to have this ritual icon in the corner here, and Maftia is not that, and that's because strictly speaking, Maftia is a fusion spell that can also ritual summon. It works just the same as any ritual spell or fusion spell. We do have another ritual monster and some fusion monsters too, but it has a nice upside that if you control a normal monster, you can use a normal monster from your deck as material. So with that, now we have a really nice searchable benefit for a normal monster. We could normal summon a level 4 normal monster, and using the Maftia that we search with the World, we can ritual summon the Buster, and since we will control a normal monster, we don't actually have to use that normal monster. We could just use a different level 4 normal monster from the deck. Then with that, you'll have your tuner and your non-tuner, and you'll have the Buster to search for Magnificent, and since you control a Magic Key monster, you could activate that Magnificent to grant you another normal summon. Then you can use your normal monster and your Buster to go into Void Ogre Dragon or another Exceed. Then you can normal summon Magnificent to revive the normal monster you sent from the deck, and synchro summon your Transferal Mine and use it to get your unlocking, and boom, you already did your combo. Damn bro, we already got our first combo of the deck. Well, to be real with you, this is pretty much the only combo of the deck, and everything else the deck does is just a variation of how you get to this combo in the first place, or a variation of what extra deck monsters you go into. There are a lot more ways to achieve this exact same goal, and for that we also have a generic ritual package of Manju, Advanced Ritual Art, and Preparation of Rites. Manju on summon searches a ritual spell or ritual monster, but you might remember the Maftia isn't a ritual spell, meaning that this guy's going to be searching for Advanced Ritual Art, which can ritual summon a monster from your hand using only normal monsters from your deck. So without even opening the normal monster and without having the Maftia, you're still using materials from the deck, and it's great because it's putting a normal monster in the grave to be revived by the Magnificent, and the Manju as a non-tuner is great alongside the Buster too to go into Void Ogre. Other than just opening the Buster or searching the Buster with the World, we can also search for Buster using Preparation of Rites. It's just a normal spell that searches for a level 7 or lower ritual monster and adds a ritual spell from grave back to hand. You don't actually have to have a ritual spell in the grave to use this, so you can just search the monster by itself. So you're going to have a bunch of ways in your main deck to search for the Buster, and a few ways to search for Advanced Ritual Art as well. And of course, the World can search the Maftia, so the vast majority of the time, we are going to be able to ritual summon and have a level 4 normal monster involved somehow. A nice thing that you could do if you have a Preparation of Rites and Advanced Ritual Art is you can use the Advanced Ritual Art to summon a ritual monster, then use Preparation to search for the Buster, and add back the Advanced Ritual Art so you can ritual summon the same way again. We can also play Master of Rites with Cosmic Cyclone to help us to search for Advanced Ritual Art, since it will be guaranteed that we will pull the Advanced Ritual Art if we search for a ritual spell, because the Maftia isn't a ritual spell. And then if we search a ritual monster with the skill, we are almost always going to get a Buster, but sometimes we might instead get our other ritual monster, Magic Key McMortar, Glace. We are just going to call him Glass. If we have this guy or a way to search for him, as well as access to Preparation of Rites and Advanced Ritual Art, then we can set up an even better board. We can use Advanced Ritual Art to ritual summon him, sending 2 normal level 4 monsters from deck to grave, then use Preparation of Rites to search Buster and add back the Advanced Ritual Art. Use the Advanced Ritual Art to summon that Buster, use that Buster to search for Magnificent, and if we have a non-tuner level 4, like one of our Vanillas or our Manju, we can use that with our Buster to go into Void Ogre or one of our rank 4. Then we can use the additional normal summon from Magnificent for it to summon itself, and summon a normal monster from grave so we can go into Transferal Mine and get an unlocking from the deck. This way, we are going to have the standard field, but we are also going to have a Glass there the whole time. And once per turn, Glass can negate the effect of a monster that has the same attribute as a monster in your own grave. This guy could be protecting the rest of your combo if you send the right normal monsters to the grave. So on top of potentially protecting your combo with this guy, You're also getting a 4th interruption on your field, making what may be the most difficult board to deal with in the game. That is just one of the ways to achieve that goal though. Technically, if your hand is capable of getting both rituals out in any way, shape or form while still being able to do the rest of the combo, then you can set this up. Just be careful not to search for the glass unless you know for sure you can summon it, because you don't want it to stay in your hand, turning off your own Void Ogre Negate. The other nice thing about getting a glass on the field is that if the opponent gets rid of it, search another Magic-y monster, so you could grab a Magnificent to set up a follow-up play. Speaking of follow-up plays though, this deck has some pretty solid board breaking ability if it wanted to go for that instead of negating, or even the turn after we set that negation border. In fact, the Transferal Mine and Glass can actually help with that too, as Glass gains 300 attack for each attribute you have in your grave, so he could get to really high stat values to beat over huge protected beat sticks. And Transferal Mine can actually attack monsters twice, but we have some more specified removal cards in our extra deck. Our fusion monster Magic-y Dragon Andrabime, and our Xyz monster Magic-y Spirit Vapartu. So Andrabime requires a Magic-y effect monster and a vanilla monster, but keep in mind the only way we have to summon it is with the Magic-y Maftia. I want to remind you real quick that Maftia will let you use a vanilla from your deck if you control a vanilla on your field, and you won't even have to use the vanilla on your field. It could be used for something else. So as long as you have a Magic-y effect monster, you don't feel bad about using it as a fusion material for this guy, then it's all good. You might even search Glass as fusion material for him. When this guy is summoned, the opponent can't activate any effects, so they can't respond when he hits the table. That pretty much means that if you summon him, you actually have the priority still on you, so you can use his ignition effect to target a Magic-y monster or a normal monster in your grave and destroy any monsters the opponent controls with the same attribute. So this does destroy, but it doesn't target, and the opponent can't stop you from activating it once it hits the table. They are just going to have to deal with their monsters being destroyed or negate this effect when it activates. Really, most decks summon monsters that are all the same attribute. There are definitely decks out there with plenty of attributes on their field, or even just slight variation, but even against those, this is alright, because you can just target the attribute in your grave that gets rid of their monster that you want to get off the field the most. This guy also draws a card once per turn when our opponent's monster is destroyed that shared an attribute with a monster in your grave, and his own destruction will trigger that effect too. So often this guy's going to be destroying some monsters, then drawing a card. Just keep in mind that if you want to maintain your Void Ogre Negate, you don't draw a card. Breaking the opponent's board like this when you're going second or on your follow-up turn can be really great to set up an OTK. What about monsters who are protected from destruction, like Leo Dancer or Azurize? That's where Vapartu comes in. But the way Vapartu works is very weird. On summon, you can detach a material to search a vanilla, and that can be cool sometimes, but usually we might actually prefer to keep the material on it, because if it has a normal monster as material, then when it battles a monster that has the same attribute as a normal monster or Magic-y monster in your grave, then you can detach a material to send that monster to the grave without targeting and without destroying it. It's really important that if you plan to summon in this guy, you have to make sure that it has a normal monster as material when it is battling, but also that you have the right attribute in your grave. Otherwise, you're likely going to just be attacking and suiciding your own Vapartu. I've definitely made this mistake before, so don't make the same mistake. Make sure you keep these things in mind. There is another Magic-y fusion monster, Anciala Bolas, I'll just call him Bolas, who needs a normal monster and any Magic-y monster as fusion material. Keeping in mind that Maftia can use a normal monster in your main deck as fusion material if you control a normal monster, and one of our normal monsters does happen to be a Magic-y monster, but on summon this guy adds a Maftia from grave back to hand. Really the only reason you would go into this is because it is also a level 4 Dark Tuner. You might find yourself in a situation where your hand wants to ritual summon, but it wouldn't be able to get out enough tuners without using this guy. You can use this as a tuner and also add back the Maftia to potentially use for a ritual summon afterwards or another fusion summon. This guy is the one that comes up the least in the deck, but it can come up from time to time in weird hands. You won't miss it most of the time if you don't have it in your extra deck, but when you need it, you're going to wish it was there. We've talked quite a bit about normal monsters so far. The fact that they can give us benefits with Maftia and Advanced Ritual Art because of them being normal monsters, and also because if we play normal monsters of different attributes, we can make the abilities of Transferal Mine, Andrabime, Glass, and Vapartu stronger. But what normal monsters are we supposed to play, and how many do we play? Well, you could play one of each attribute of normal monster. However, with attributes being needed, we have to keep in mind that Buster is a dark monster, and Magnificent is a light monster, and our standard combo involves both of them, and they are both going to end up in the grave during our combo. So the light and dark attributes are already accounted for. So we only have to think about earth, wind, fire, and water. Since we can access them all directly from the deck using Advanced Ritual Art, and because if we play a certain amount of normal monsters, we are bound to draw them from time to time. We can very easily just play one of each per attribute. The way the deck space currently is though, we do actually have to cut one of these 4 attributes out from the main deck, and this is going to depend on the format. Looking at all of the decks that are popular, you consider what cards Vipartu might need to remove from the field, what cards does Transferlamine and Andrabime want to destroy, and what card does Glass want to negate, and we make sure to prioritize those attributes. For example, against Lunalights, in this current format, we want to be able to destroy or negate the Tiger King that they summon, so that it won't turn off our Void Ogre negate that we want to use on their scales or fusion spells. And since Tiger King is a fire attribute monster, we have to make sure one of our vanilla level 4s is fire attribute. Following the same logic for the rest of the meta, you figure out which attribute is going to be the least helpful for you, and you take it out of the main deck. In tournaments, of course, though, you're going to be able to put that attribute into your side deck, so that if you happen to face against a deck that it would be better to have that attribute against, you can swap it in and take out one of your other vanillas for that matchup. For the moment, the Magic-y experts in the 6K community Discord agree that the Earth attribute is the least needed for the main deck in this current format, so you would make sure to put in Fire, Water, and Wind attribute vanillas into your deck. And of course, you just play whatever vanilla level 4s you have with the attributes you need. It literally doesn't matter which ones you pick because they are all going to fulfill the same purpose. I will say though, it is best to pick the ones with the highest attack stat because it can be nice that our vanillas can beat over things, and sometimes even contribute to us doing lethal damage in a pinch. I said earlier that Buster will fulfill the dark attribute condition for us, and it certainly will, but there are scenarios where we need to have a normal monster in our hand, and the only ways we can actually access our normal monsters is by either opening them or by sending them from deck to grave with the Advanced Ritual Art. But if we play a single copy of Clavkiss the Magic-y Sky Blaster, we will have access to searching a normal monster that way using World or Buster search effects. The way the deck functions and the way its ratios has been optimized by Raindown and Cybergears in the 6K community Discord. Every slot in the deck was meticulously selected, and this is actually the formula that Raindown got his first championship title run with in November. Every card that is played at 3 copies in the deck is at 3 copies because of the fact that we would like to open them, and every card that is played at 1 copy in this deck is because of the fact that we have ways to access them directly from the deck, other than Terraforming, which is simply an additional copy of World, giving us even more consistency. When it comes to the extra deck, pretty much everything is at 1 copy because you only really plan to summon them once. Transferlamine is at 2, however, for grind game, and because if the first one dies, you could use the second to break boards with its double monster attack. The Cosmic Cyclone, funnily enough, isn't even here because we have to remove back row. In fact, we can play through and around interruptions pretty well in this deck with all the plays we have, but the Cosmic is here to let us use our Master of Right skill to give us another way to search for Buster or Advanced Ritual Art. And something that's nice about Cosmic is you can toggle on when you use a normal spell when you are going first to use Cosmic on your own normal spell so that you can get the skill search up. It definitely does come up from time to time, just making sure you aren't using Cosmic to banish something you still need, like your Feel spell to get your Maftia or the Maftia itself, which you may need to get back. If you have a good enough hand, you might consider using the Buster to search for battle, as long as you have something engraved to shuffle back into the deck with it to help you play through interruptions better. Speaking of which, the majority of monsters in this deck are all different monster types, making this deck nearly completely immune to Ice Dragon's Prison, because by the time Ice Dragon's Prison can profitably be used, you are already going to have back row negates on the field to prevent it. Strictly speaking, the extra deck actually has more options you could play. There's a whole rank 4 package to talk about. There's the Abyss Dweller, Steelswarm Roach, and Giant Hand that can all be used to interrupt the opponent, and there's Castel, Malevolent Sin, and Dark Rebellion that can all help to break boards. Really, you could play whatever you believe is going to be best for that format. Not many decks validate the Steelswarm Roach though this format, since there's not a lot of Synchro or Pendulum summoning going on. But when those come back, then Roach can likely be put back into the extra deck. But really, all of these options can be put into your side deck when you are playing in a tournament. Because of the versatility of our extra deck and the fact that our main deck is so tight, our side deck being able to have a bunch of different extra deck options instead of main deck options is actually a pretty huge advantage, as we can side into the right things depending on our opponent's decks. Another nice thing you could do is potentially put a copy of Guts into the side deck. It is limited to 1 and so is Terraforming, but if Guts is what you really need because your opponent isn't really using much back row, making your Void Ogre look bad, then you can side out the Void Ogre for Guts and side out the Terraforming for the vanilla level 4, whose attribute is just there as a back row, and your consistency will only be slightly nerfed since the majority of this deck searches. Against decks that don't use any back row whatsoever, you could potentially side out the unlocking for that vanilla too, and use the Transferal Mine to search for the battle, since battle will be live against almost everything, even if it isn't as powerful as unlocking. Normally, I would say that I'm not here to tell you how to build your deck, I'm just here to show you how to play it. But in this case, I'm going to make a special exception, because the way this deck is built is truly the way you gotta play it. All other ways are just subpar in comparison to this. It isn't even close. But yeah guys, let's just get into the replay, shall we? So I'm not really going to be showing every single thing the deck can do in replays, because realistically all it is you know, getting the Buster, getting Magnificent, getting the World, and you know, trying to set up whatever you need for that situation, which is usually going to be Void Ogre Dragon, Transferal Mine, and the unlocking. There can be other situations, you know, where you can fiddle around, use your other things to get other things going. You know, that's kind of what the complicated thing about this deck is. It's not necessarily what you're doing, but how you're getting there, and maybe not even how you're getting there, but then what choices you make and how you make those choices. And these replays are going to be showing kind of those weird choices. So the opponent's going to be going first with Lunalight. They can set up a pretty nice board here. So they got pretty much the full combo. They got the full combo in such a way that they don't actually need to use the skill. Based on their hand, it looks like if they use the skill, they would be turning off some of the important cards. But you know, they got the full combo anyway, and that's what's so nice about Lunalights. But yeah, he's going to be able to go into the Nightmare. He's got the Crimson Fox to protect his follow-up play. He's got the Abyss Dweller. This deck doesn't actually care about Abyss Dweller, but he doesn't know what deck we're playing here. And we've got the Evil Swarm Nightmare, which on special summon of one of my monsters, he can flip it down by detaching material. So the way my hand is set up, I got the Magnificent, so I'm good. I don't have to go out my way to search for it. I already have it. I have the World to search what I want, and I have the Manju to search what I want. So I can use the World to search for my Baddest Buster, and I happen to draw into Advanced Ritual Art. Must be nice to be me. But yeah, I'm going to be able to play around this Nightmare here, and I don't care about the Dweller. So I'm going to use my Manju. Manju is going to search for me a Glass, and I can use my Advanced Ritual Art to summon my Glass. And why do I summon my Glass first instead of my Buster? Because he wants to use his Nightmare, and I'm not trying to have my Buster flipped down, right? I want to use it as Synchro Material. So he's going to use it. I am going to negate it with Garglasser because I sent a Dark Monster to the grave, so I can negate the Dark Monster, right? So I negate it, and the negate does in fact destroy it, so I don't have to deal with it anymore. So now I can use the Maftiel because I do control a Magic-y monster, and I can use the World's Other effect to shuffle one of these Magnificents of the deck to get myself a Maftia and tribute my own Glass to ritual summon my Buster. Buster's gonna get me a battle. Hell yeah. So that I can Synchro summon into Void Ogre Dragon. Maftiel can summon itself, bring back a normal monster, go into Transferal Mine. Transferal Mine is going to get me the unlocking, and I can set my battle, attack in, and if they had some way to survive, I had a back row negate, a monster pop, a protection for my monster pop, and a spell negate that also helps turn on my Transferal Mine. Alright, so this replay is going to be kind of showing the grinding capabilities of this deck. A pretty good hand, by the way. If you are looking to, you know what a good hand is, you need to know that you have some access to summoning the Buster and some way to, search for it, and also have a non-tuner. So Manju is great for that because he fulfills two of those purposes. I do have the, one of the ritual spells here, but I already have the Manju, so who cares? I also got a Cosmic, which can help me search as well, so that's nice. But yeah, he's got the full U-Bell board, the full U-Bell board, and back row, dude. Oh my goodness. I am gonna, of course, use the Cosmic Cyclone. Might as well. I have it. Might as well use it. But I can use the Manju to search for Advanced Ritual Art. I can use that to summon the Buster here, sending it dark, because I do want to at some point negate it dark. Buster is going to be able to search a Maftiel, and Maftiel can activate itself since I do control a Magic-y, and I can shuffle using the skill to get myself another Advanced Ritual Art. Why do I want another Advanced Ritual Art, bro? Why do I want another one? Well, I can use the World here to search for a Glass, and I can Synchro summon into Void Ogre Dragon, use Advanced Ritual Art, send 2 normal monsters to the grave, summon my Glass, and now if he wants to use his destruction effects against me, I can negate them. I can use my Maftiel, my Magnificent to revive a normal monster, but instead of going into Transferal Mine, I do keep in mind, okay, that the ultimate Nightmare here cannot be destroyed by battle. I need to have some way to get rid of it, because Void can't get rid of it, Glass can't get rid of it, and bro, Transferal Mine can't get rid of it either. So I have to keep in mind This guy is a dark attribute. Do I have any darks engraved? Yes, I do have a dark engrave. I have the Sky Blaster and I have the Buster. Do I have a normal monster? Yes, I have a normal monster. So I'm going to Xyz summon into my Vipartu. He's going to use Bacon Saver, which he summoned from the grave using the Neos Fusion, and I can negate that because it is a dark attribute with my Glass. So boom, negate that, and I can still send the Nightmare to the grave. I don't have to deal with that anymore, and I can attack into Neos. GG's, goodbye. Now he just has this, which is great. It's cool and all, you know what I mean? He's attacking and he's going to try to use this effect to burn me. I can negate that with the Glass though, so that is nice. However, he is going to be able to protect himself from destruction using Neos Fusion, and he attacks into the void and gets rid of himself, and then he explodes into Neos Wiseman and attacks in. He's going to gain and burn a bit, but Glass is going to be able to get a float off, so I have my follow-up play here of the Magnificent. I can activate it, the normal summon it, revive something, but he does have a bottomless trap hole to get rid of. Unfortunate situation, but I do have the Blazing Apache, and importantly, I still have a material on Vipartu. Okay, and it was a normal monster on the attack declaration, and he is a light monster, and I do have a light monster engraved, that being the Manju and another Magnificent. So I can use it, even though I do have to detach the normal monster now, so I can get rid of it and attack in. He doesn't really have any follow-up play, so he just setting the monster. I can go to attack mode and attack in for game. That's just the kind of grinding capability this deck has, especially with a Vipartu having 2 materials. So guys, I've explained everything there is to really know about the deck, all of the available things you can do with it, and really the game plan is quite simple and easy. However, there can be a lot of complication with certain hands when it comes to actually getting to that point in the first place. Most of the time, you're going to be fine as long as you follow the advice from this guide. However, if you are faced with a weird hand or a weird situation, join the Team 6K community Discord and find Raindown or Cybergear, and they will be able to help you out of that weird situation the next time it happens. This is one of those decks that has a simple game plan but multiple different choices available within that game plan that can cause some confusion sometimes. So don't sleep on the deck when you think you bricked. There's a good chance that your hand might have been fine if you just knew how to navigate it, and there's nobody better than Raindown and Cybergears to help you with that. In fact, they were the 2 consultants I had aiding me when it came to learning this deck, so big shout out to them. But yeah guys, let us know how you feel about Magic Key now that you know the best way to play them, and if you like the video, then slap like now, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell to get notified every time we make a new video. Have yourselves a good one guys, and I've been Undead from Team 6K, signing out.
Hey, why they gotta hate on me? I done got me 250,000 views and they still saying they low key. They ain't wanna come work with the kid, but I'm flexing with Zay on beats. How they ask for a spot at the gym, but they leave all the weight on me. I don't ask them to wait on me. They would ask where they gon' be with a song if they wanted the weatherman. I ain't asking to pay no fees. She was homeless and needed a spot. I ain't ask her to pay no lease. I ain't ask her to say no please. I ain't ask her to make no cheese. Scream fake, but it ain't on me. Got clean so it ain't no streets. Why green if it ain't no keeps? Brought cream so it ain't no beef. My team say it ain't no chief. My demon they hang on me. They seemingly ain't no peace. I seen him, he ain't no beast. For real.